Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh, and this is our Fantasy Grounds Unity map and image creation. So thanks everybody for joining me today. I always like to start off this stream by talking about some of the news that is image related and all of the stuff that's going on there. So first off, our new build is just about ready to come out, I believe. It should be getting pushed live very soon, which comes with all of our new undo features and so on. That's all been rebuilt from the ground up, which is very exciting. Also recently released was our settlements art package, which is super cool. It allows you guys to build and create all kinds of fantasy settlements, from cities to fortifications and all of that sort of stuff. So very exciting things there. In addition to that, I believe that right after the next build that comes out, there's going to be another one going into test, which is going to have some really cool new UI changes. I can't really talk about it yet, but I'm super excited about it. John and I have been working on that for the last couple of weeks. Super exciting stuff coming you guys' way, and it's really a great time to get into Fantasy Grounds Unity. There's so much going on and so many new things coming out all the time. It's very, very exciting. So yeah, again, thanks for everyone for joining me, and we'll jump right into some of the stuff today. We started creating with the Spaceship's art pack last week. We're building a large freighter, and so we're going to be continuing that this week and finishing that up, and then hopefully maybe even jump into doing some of the interior as well. As always, if you guys have any questions, or if there is something that I do that you guys are not familiar with, I use a lot of shortcut keys, and I try to always remember to explain what I'm doing. But if I do something, if I jump in there and you have no idea what I did, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to go back and explain it a little bit further. Also, if there's any other questions that you might have, feel free, throw it into the chat. I will do my best to answer any of them, as always. Oh, hello, everyone. Sure. So the question is from DJ Break Time, and that is, can you touch on some of the new features that are coming out in the next version? And that is a whole bunch of new stuff inside of the image area. Everything is kind of recalculated. So even from our painting tools all the way through our effects layers with the new masking features, the blur is getting adjusted so that we can do a lot more with that. In addition to that, tons and tons of small stuff underneath the hood, but the undo system, which was recently had to be removed because of some of the interactions that were going on, that was not quite as we expected. So that's been completely rebuilt. So with a control Z to undo and a control Y to redo functionality. So I'm in test channel right now, and you guys are more than welcome to jump into test channel and see all of these for yourself. So here, if I'm in a painting layer, just created a new painting layer, and we can draw around as usual, and I can hit Control Z and undo that, and I can hit Control Z and undo that, but I can go right back and do Control Y and redo these things as well. Even if I jump into my eraser, and we have a little eraser preview now, what we're actually going to be erasing. And again, I can Control Z to undo all of those, and I can do Control Y to redo them. So that functionality is completely redone. And this includes lots of different functionality. So even if I move things around, we can put things back and do lots of stuff there. One of the things that we were having a hard time with before is the interaction with line of sight. And so if I were to do this, and then perhaps remove or add some of these features here, and then the Control Z functionality would have a hard time dealing with all of the different functions that had just happened. But now, as you can see, it easily goes through everything that we have interacted with. And we can even delete and undo the deletion of layers, which was something that was not possible before. So lots of cool stuff. Yeah. So we have a question from Billy Carter on YouTube. The most basic tutorial where I can get FGU to recognize my download of Lost Mines of Phandelver. Well, as long as you've downloaded it, there should be no problem. You should do it automatically. So you just load up your FGU and you hit the little update button, and it will go through and make sure any sort of product that you purchase through Steam or on the store will be downloaded for you automatically, or even the Forge now. Anything that you get from the Forge will be handled by that as well. And once that's all loaded up, once you're inside of Fantasy Grounds, you're going to see a little library button. And this is going to be all of your modules. And you just click the little modules button. And I'm in Core RPG right now, but this will be all very similar. You're just going to find it, and you can even search by it. So if you put in Lost Mines of Phandelver will pop up if it happens to be in there. And then you'll be able to load it right up. Alrighty, so what we did last time is we built this half of our spaceship that we're going to be doing here. And we're going to be moving and duplicating this and then creating a little a front area that I want to do. We were actually creating a spaceship that isn't so streamlined, more of like a freighter. And now that I've have all of this stuff lined right up here in my actual folder system that I've created on the side here to help organize everything, I can use one folder to kind of move this around. As you can see, this all functions as one image all together here. So I can move this around and do all the interactions that I want to. One of the things that you can do as well here, let's just turn off, let me turn off this background for a second, is that we can check our silhouette really easily now by making this completely black. And this is great for doing conceptual thing. You can see that this is a really cool kind of silhouette that we've created for the side of our ship. Our engines look great, our little propulsion systems, and all of the different things here. So really cool stuff that we have here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to duplicate all of that stuff. And you can see that this gets a little bit, looks like a little bit wonky. We might have to redo some of that. So I can hit Control Z and undo all of that functionality there. And we might need to do these one or two at a time. It looks like that it reorganized some of these. This is interesting. Not exactly sure which piece that I'm looking at here. And again, we are in tests. Let's see. This is a really interesting thing. Let's see what happens if I hit delete. Oh yeah, so that's that piece. And it looks as though that some of these got a little bit reorganized here. I wonder what happens if I do Control Z. Oh yeah. And we'll just move that back up. And I'm going to grab this. I think that this is in the bottom here. Should be. Looks like a very interesting kind of bug that we just uncovered. So we'll make a note of that and continue on here. Oh, we have a duplicate, which is what we have going on here. This is our original one. And then we have all of these duplicate features here. I'm just going to go through and delete all of these things. I'm going to hold down Shift. It looks as though that it got deleted from my list on this side. Let's see what happens when we close this and open this back up. So we are going to run into some problems like this. Oh, we can see that it's all set back to where it should be once I closed and reopened it. And let's just move this back to where it was on the side here. And we may need to do this in sections as we duplicate these. Well, let's see what happens. And here we have all of these different elements here. Let's see. It's just putting them. It's very interesting. Let's see if we can maintain this here a little bit. I'm going to select everything by holding down Shift and going all the way over to the line and then moving it over. And you can see we have a kind of a facsimile of what we did before. I think what we'll do is we'll reorganize this a little bit and we'll take this out. I'm actually going to just select all of these on this right side and we'll just delete them. And perhaps what we can do is just take these out of our conglomerate here and maybe do these individually. So let's see if I duplicate that, if this will be a little bit easier for us to manage. As you can see, it's all on the inside. It looks like it's double duplicating these. We'll do a short little investigation here as we uncover what's going on. Yeah, that's just all it's doing. We can certainly handle this. This is no problem at all. And what it's actually doing is making a duplicate of what is on the inside and on the outside. Oh yeah, did you dark mantle? This is actually what it's doing is it's doing everything correctly, but it's doing an additional duplication outside of the folder as well, which I'm just going to make a note of that, and we'll have that fixed before this goes live. But I'll do this, and then we'll reorganize these and do it. So I'm just going to move this over to the side here, and then I'm going to duplicate this one. And all of these exterior ones that I don't need, I'm just going to select them all and delete them. And then I have this copy, which I can now move over. And we'll do the bottom as well. And you know what? I think I can actually let's do this. Let's see if we can do this differently as well. Let's delete those. And I'm going to put these back inside of my ship folder here. Let's see here. Seems to be a little bit cumbersome at the moment, but we got this. There we are. And now if I duplicate that, I'm just going to delete these exterior ones, which should be exactly what we want to do. And it looks like we can actually delete all of these folders because we have in another entire copy. So that should be just about perfect. And I can just move that over. There we go. We just got a couple of extra duplications there. Figured it all out, and now we know what the problem is, and we could take care of that. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it to the other side, and we have an exact duplicate of both of our elements here. And I'm going to rename this, obviously, to ship right. And I'm just going to move this over and line it up. And there we have our base of our entire ship. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create one more section, and I'm going to do it right up here for here. It's going to be this middle kind of section here. And I'm going to overlay on top of some of this, and I'm actually going to probably end up putting a little bit that comes out of the bottom too to finalize our entire situation here. And then I'm going to put it all into one folder that's just going to be called ship, where we can do a lot of our adjustments over the entirety of everything. We're going to come in and do all of our shadows, and we'll add some little lights blinking on it and whatnot, and make any sort of color variations. We'll even probably paint the name of the ship on there somewhere and do all of it. So we'll spend some time doing the bells and whistles and really getting this into a really good state here. And we can also select both of these and kind of move this around as a conglomerate as well. We might even do some effects of having some sort of propulsion system working and lots of fun stuff. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to open up my assets art package over here, and we'll move it to the side. And then I'm going to find our, let's see here, Spaceship art pack, which is what we've used to create all of this so far. And we can go into our decorations here, and I'm actually going to go into our, let's go into our hull parts. And I'm going to use some of these other ones. I think I'm going to do a little bit more of like this kind of shape for the front, and maybe even do it a little bit set apart from the ship. We'll do like some little connectors like we did here, something along those lines. I think that could be pretty fun. Maybe we'll use something like this. Oh yeah, let's add these as our little connection pieces, and we'll do one on each little section here. And I'm actually going to turn off my aspect lock ratio, and I'm just going to shorten it down, maybe like 4, so it's a little bit squatter. And then I'm going to layer on top of this. So I'm going to duplicate this 1, 2, 3 more times, and then I'm just going to drag these out to the appropriate locations here. Now, instead of painting, we're doing all of this drag and drop, so we're going to get a lot more layers, which is why we're using the folder system to the best of our abilities to kind of manage all of these layers. We could also paint these out and do lots of fun stuff that way, which would limit the number of layers, but it would increase the complexity of moving things around later, which this is a very conceptual kind of piece, so I like the ability to just grab something and move it around and so on. And then I'm just going to move back through and find some of these other pieces and begin to build out all the different shapes that I'm going to be using to kind of create the front of this. I'm thinking maybe what I'll do is let's see here. Well, let's move this back a little bit here. I'm gonna do that with my arrow keys, just one square at a time. Yeah, something like that. And then I'm gonna build this across. So I'm gonna do something that's a little bit angled here and squared off of the top. So I think what I'll actually do is start off with a nice square piece. I think I want to do one that is this one. And we'll stop that there. Yeah, something like that. And then I'll angle some pieces. So I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to grab some wing pieces like these shapes. And then I can kind of build these. That one's much too large. And let's make that like, well, that's 4 tall. So let's make it 4. And that's going to be just about perfect, I think. But we'll bring it in a little bit. And actually what we'll do is we'll drop it in behind and we'll do a couple of layers of these, I think. Or maybe we could even grab this one, kind of put this here, and then do this maybe. Yeah, make some cool kind of interesting shapes here. And so if I drag this one underneath here, and we will, let's see here. I want to make sure that this kind of lines up here a little bit. So we might even want to drop this in. Oh yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll just drop this underneath and just kind of slide it over to something like that. We could drop it in underneath the tapers. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's nice. And we could do some other little connectors down here at the bottom and whatnot. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to select all of these. Try this again. There we go. And you can see that you want to also. And if you hold down Control over on this side, you can select all of these this way. And then I can duplicate those and then flip them. And I'm going to hold down the Control key so that I can maintain their location here. And we don't need this guy actually, so let's delete him. Oh, whoops, I'm not deleting, I'm duplicating. And we'll just even this up here on the edge. And then drop this guy down next to. I think we'll move this out of the way so I can grab this one. We can even those up a little bit. And I think we'll grab this piece, and I'm actually going to flip it this way. And then we'll create another one. I think we'll make it, let's see, we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 wide. And then we'll do the same with this one. And I'm going to drag these down underneath everything. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool there. And let's move up now. We'll go back into our hull parts. And I think I'll grab something like this. And this will be, I'm going to make this quite squat and a bit wider. And we'll have it stick out just there. And I'll drop this down in under all of it. And again, I'm going to grab all of these. Let's make a new folder here. Whoops. Make a new folder here. Call this the front. Or we could probably just maintain the same and we'll just drag and drop those right in there. And I think we'll actually add in a couple of other elements. I want to make this kind of stick out on the top here a little bit. So we can pull in something like this, and again, we'll shorten this up quite a bit. Yeah, we might even, let's actually delete that one, and we'll replace it with this one. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. And now we can go into our window pieces here that we have and maybe drop stuff like this. I'm going to drop this down. Obviously, its size is much too large. We want to have this ship to have like some sort of scale to it. And maybe what we'll actually do is make it a little bit wider, make it like a oblong kind of dome shape. And we'll drop this one's down quite a bit. And probably something even smaller like this. And then we can, if we want to, we can just kind of finagle it a little bit. See where we want it to sit. Going to make the most sense. And I'm going to drop this down. Drop this down in there. And we could even add in some additional kind of windows on the side and whatnot if we so wanted. Obviously, again, we're going to make this quite a bit smaller. this one shrink in a little. And then we can duplicate that and flip it. The other side here. I think we'll actually either move this up here, or maybe we'll do like an observation area back here. And I think I'll make it not quite so squat, a little bit. And you can see that how much scale that kind of gives our entire ship here. And I think what we'll do is actually go in. I'll grab these. I think we'll leave these in a separate folder for our windows in case we want to color these a little bit separately. That's a great question, Dark Mantle. So the question is from Twitch. For rendering on clients, is there a difference in computer load if it's layers instead of painted? And but I'm not exactly sure, but I will ask Carl and get a definitive answer for you. And we'll call this Windows. And that way, if we add in any other, maybe we're going to do some more along these sides and whatnot, we can just use this entire area here if we want to change its colors, for example. Maybe we want to make them really dark. Maybe a little bit blue. Or maybe we'll just do, we can just reset it for now. We'll see. We'll see what we want to do. I think what we'll actually do, let me grab this. Let's make this like 75 by 75, so we have a little bit more space to work with here. And I'll just center this in. Make it not feel so cramped on our ship here. And I think we'll go into some of our other decorations here and add some additional kind of elements. Like I said, I think we'll go in here and add in maybe some of these beams in and across. What we'll do is we'll shrink this down quite a lot. Maybe like this. And I'm just going to hit Control C, Control V to duplicate it. And we'll drop these down in. I want them to be underneath everything here. And I'm just going to move them up. Well, if I hold down Control, I can do it pixel by pixel. So I think we'll do it maybe something like right here. And I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm actually going to put it right underneath my windows. And I'm going to call it Ship. And this is going to be my main folder. I'm going to grab all of these other things. I'm going to drop it right inside there. So now what I can actually do is change the color of the entire ship, all of those pieces at once. So we might want to make it, and then we'll do individual adjustments as we move. So let's we'll back it out for right now. I'm going to do all my shadow content first. And I'm actually going to do that with an effects layer for a little bit of time. And then I'll do maybe a painted layer for a little bit of the shadows that I want to dive in and do things a little bit differently. I think I might actually want to do another like raised element on the top here as well while we're at it. And so I'll probably maybe grab something like this And we could maybe make this a little bit longer here. Maybe even a little bit wider. I just want to make sure that it doesn't seem too flat, like there's a lot of height elevation and whatnot, as we kind of have this here. And we might even want to go in and do a little bit of adjustments on some of the other elements as well as we kind of continue here and see what we want to do. You cannot flatten images at the moment. So the question from Prideful is that can you flatten images after you edit them? And no, inside of FGU, there's no ability to like flatten the layers down into a single layer. And one of the things that you can do, Prideful One, in FGU is we can create a painting layer. And so this is one particular layer here, and we can load up any image that we have, for example, in a painting layer, and it's all going to be just in one layer. So we can actually build whatever we want to, and we can do all kinds of stuff here in one layer, and this is, as you can see, one particular layer. And we're going to actually do that. We're going to paint in some shadows and whatnot and add some additional elements. We could really go crazy here and do lots of fun stuff. But what I'm actually going to do at this time is start to use, we'll drop this down on, we'll put this in the ship front. Drop it right. And I'm going to create an effects layer. And this effects layer, we're going to make it into a adjust colors. And I'm going to lower down the brightness here with it. I'm not going to give it any sort of color, a variation, whatnot. Maybe we'll do something like 40. And then I'm going to add a mask. And I'm going to increase my blur here a little bit, but we'll adjust this as we go. All you have to do to load the images for the painting area is just drag from your assets, or you can also drag, if you load an image into your hotkey bar down here. So you can just drag an image and drop it right in there, and then it loads it right up. And then I can hold down Control and use my mouse wheel to change its size. And I can hold down Shift and use my mouse wheel to change its rotation. If I have the line tool selected, and one of the things that we do have in Fantasy Grounds, let me go all the way up here, is we can do brushes. Let's say, for example, I decide I want to use a brush like this. I have a line tool here selected. I can then begin to paint out lots of different cool shapes with it. I could even do a rectangle or an ellipse. And then I can come back in, and if I want to remove certain parts of it, I can. Which is really great for if we're doing buildings or doing lots of cool different stuff. So tons and tons of tools here that you can use. I'm going to delete this painting layer. And we're going to move into my effects layer that I have set up here. And like I said, I'm going to go to a reveal area, and holding down the Alt button, what I can actually do is I can start to draw out my little shadows here. And I can adjust the blur depending on how much I want these to kind of blur out here. And this is how I'm going to, and I can also adjust how dark I want these shadows to be. And so I can now blur this quite a lot if I want, or very little. Holding down Shift and Alt, I can then take away any area that I don't want here. And I'm just going to add in some shadows in some very basic kind of areas here, just to help give it a little bit of shape. As you can see, there is some built-in shadows here, and where it's kind of bleeding out over the edge there, I'm just going to clean that up a little. And like areas in here, I'm just going to do a rectangle. And I can do a rectangle like here and right along these edges. So not holding down Alt, I can actually just create a little rectangle. And you can see that I can very quickly kind of just build up cool little areas in here. Have some nice shadow quality to them. And again, if I want to blur more or less, I can, even after the fact. And I can do some off of the back of some of these elements as well to help give a little bit of elevation change. And I can also create a painting layer. And I can grab my little shadow brush that I use a lot. Make sure that we're in our painting area over here. I'm actually going to reduce all of my color. I usually have it set to a little bit blue, and I'm going to reduce my opacity here, maybe to something like 75. Turn off my aspect lock ratio so that I can actually make kind of an oblong shape here. I'm going to make it a little bit thinner. Something like this. And with my stamp tool selected, I can also stamp in some nice little shadows around here. So there's several different ways, always inside of FGU, that you can achieve lots of cool effects here. I'm going to make this more round, and then I'm going to do some of these larger kind of areas like this. Now, let's Control Z a couple of those out. Let's make this a little bit less opaque so that I can make it a little bit softer in through here. And just fade that out a little. What kind of colors do you think that we should make this? You guys have any suggestions? Now we can go in and we can color this lots of different ways. I'll show you guys a few of them today. This kind of white-esque is kind of classic. Make this narrow, so I'm just going to do a little bit along the edges. And again, if we want to check our silhouette, we can move back into our Layers tab, and we can just drop this down. Let's turn this off first. Yeah, that's quite a cool looking silhouette for a ship, I think. I think what I'll actually do is let's make it a little bit on the. So there's a couple of different ways that we can use our color picker here. I can just drag around in here and find something that suits me. I think I'm going to keep it pretty light. I want to have a lot of contrast from the background here, but I think something like this is going to work really good. Oh yes, Dark Soul? Yeah. And I think I might go in and do some individual colors as well. So we can do an additional effects layer, and we can use our effects layers to do lots of different stuff. Let's drop it in underneath our shadows. I'll show you some neat stuff that we can kind of do here. So we're going to do another adjust color. Oh yeah, so there's a couple of caveats about that, but that is a really cool idea. I would probably do it the other way around. I would do another layer of the space on top, and I'll show you why. So if we go into our ship here, and we go over here, and I drop down the alpha channel, you're going to see that because we have lots of different layers here, it's going to create ghosting of all of the parts through the other parts. Perhaps one day, Prideful One, perhaps one day we'll be able to do that. It may be in the future. So what we can do instead is if we duplicate this layer right on top, and we just reduce this opacity, we can simulate the same exact effect by showing it through here. And then, yes, you can certainly do an effects layer to make this feel like that it is kind of like cloaked. And then you can adjust this to whatever way you want to. And so what we can do now is because we have it below and above, it'll work exactly the way that you kind of intended. But now we can create an effects layer. And if we wanted to do maybe like a water effects layer, and then we can add a mask to it. And then I will just do like a quick mask out where the actual ship is. And now we can adjust all of these parameters. We don't want any droplet in there because we don't want it to have like this kind of rippling effect. But we can slow down this, and we can, I'll show you another kind of cool, you might want to increase the horizontal and then just drop down the intensity. We can get a little bit of this motion. We could even increase the speed, but drop down the intensity so it's a little bit of more of a like a shake, as you can see here. This nice little wobble going. Yep, great. And now what I can do is, now that I have this all set up with whatever mask, I could go in here if I wanted to, by masking. And let's say I switch to hide layer, and I want to kind of come in and make sure that some of this is removed so it doesn't get too much of this. You'll get a little bit of the technology as it kind of comes out and around, but once I have my mask pretty well set up, I can duplicate this layer, and it's going to also duplicate that mask. But I can change this effects type to whatever I want to, right? So I could do it here. I can blur that out so that we have like a misty kind of scenario there. But we can do whatever we want. So I could go with the ocean effect, which adds this kind of like nice shimmery kind of effect there. And then depending on the layer that we do it in, it's actually going to take this into account. So now we can create this really cool kind of shimmery effect. And again, we can change all of these parameters. And develop whatever effect stacking that we want to do. And now we can adjust the opacity of this background As we make it less opaque or more, we can bring the ship into view and less into view. Yes, the protos would be proud. I do this same trick with the background a lot if I'm trying to do an underwater scene. So if I want to have something that is beneath the water level, maybe just off the shore, it's really great for like sunken ships and whatnot. So you do your water, but then you do something else, and then you can slowly lower the opacity of it because this will all update in real time to your players. So I can adjust this slider, and they'll actually see this adjusting. I can bring things in and out of all of that. Now, if we want to, I would actually probably put this on top of the cloaking as well, so that I could really kind of hide this, right? So if I wanted to make this totally, boom, you wouldn't even see it. But I could also keep it down here, so you would still get this effect, like it's maybe distorting some of this in here, and then so all of this, the stacking order is super important as we kind of move through this. So I'm going to make a folder though for this, and we can actually call this cloak. And then we can grab all of these elements here. We don't want the painting layer, but these, and we can drop it right in there. And then we can control it just by hiding and showing that grouping, because that'll hide all of those effects and everything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the cool kind of stuff that you can do, Prideful One, is that kind of interaction. And like I said before, I do it oftentimes with like the water elements, showing the sunken ship that's underneath, and then it's a really nice kind of transition between the elevations above and below the water. I am going to use this adjustment layer now that we haven't even gotten into yet, and I'm going to show you guys how you can. So let's say, for example, I want to do like some markings on here and maybe do some other colorations. So let's say, well, let's do actually, depending on how I want to do this here. Let's add some red to it. So let's drop down these, I think, and maybe add something like this. And again, I'm going to create a mask for this. And then I can start to come in and adjust these colors here. And you can see that that's going to make that very, very red. So I can bring this down, maybe bring these up a little bit, find a good kind of area in here. And this is just another way that we can add color elements to particular areas of our ship here that we want to. Maybe I do this one here too. And then I'm just going to come in and I'm going to clean this up. And we can zoom right in here and we can do this perfectly if we so wish. Whoops. Got to hold down Shift. I want to take away. And I can do the same on this side and add in a whole bunch of different stuff along this way as well. But the other thing that I can actually do is I can go into my layer adjustments and I can do these things. I'm going to do this side. I'm just going to show you guys lots of different ways that you can achieve the same effects. Clean this up a little bit here. And what we can also do, let's say we go into our ship front here. Let's go into our layers here. And perhaps I'm going to select this guy and maybe this guy too. So these two wings, I can go into my color picker and I can change. If I wanted to match up to here, I can actually grab my little adjustment here. A little bit more red. All of our colors are additive, so they just get added to it. Maybe I'll select this one and hold down Shift and select the one on the other side. And again, I can do the same. If I want to, I can actually select one of these and I can grab this hexadecimal code. I'm going to hit Control C. OK. I'm going to select this one and Shift to select that one. And we're going to make those the same. And perhaps I'll do this element and this one. Oh, you know what I did? I hit Control C instead of Control V. And this is going to help me create continuity between all of them by using the same. You can see we've added the same kind of colors two different ways. So I'm going to use this technique if I just want to color one little part of an entire piece. And I'm going to use this technique if I want to color, I'm going to grab these as well, the entire piece. This is in the test channel, if that's what you're asking, J-Rod. And now we can test it with our cloaking mechanism. Yep, everything stays exactly the way I anticipated it. If I want to, I can come in and I can change the color of all of these little elements as well. And I can really pour myself into this and do whatever I wish. I could also, if I wanted to add in a layer for textures, I could start to put some textures over the top of this and maybe make it look like it's been through some fights and along those lines. We can add in tons and tons of stuff. If we wanted to add in some armaments, we certainly could. So we have all kinds of different gun battlements and whatnot. As you can see that this color has not been adjusted. But if I take this and I drop this down into my ship here, where we did that adjustment, let's see. Where did we? Now let me just grab this Control C. And then I can just do this. And it's going to match right up perfectly there. So I could add in some guns and whatnot if I want to make it more of a militant ship. We got a whole bunch of different styles that we can do add in here. And whatever we load in underneath our cloak layer is going to work perfectly. So we don't have to worry about that either. Now we do not have a currently have a text tool inside of here. So, but let's say we want to put our name on this. It's a little bit more cumbersome to do that. And we'll just do, I'm going to do like, let's do like We might as well do like a Star Wars reference, right? Let's do TK421. And I'm going to go into my FG symbols here. We have all kinds of base letters that we can use. We also have some different styles, and I'm going to use one of these styles here. And I'm actually going to create a painting layer. And we'll drop this down in underneath our other painting layer here. So I'm going to grab the T. And let's do something like this. And then we're going to grab the K. Oh, what was the size that I had the other one? We'll just eyeball it here. And let's go up into our numbers now. Let's use this one. That's a little bit too big. Let's do like 2.8. That's a little bit too big still, isn't it? And I can move this down, and I can even, if I wanted to, I could expand it out or change it a little bit. It's not going to change much if I go in this direction. And then I'm going to lower down its opacity. Kind of blend it in with the ship a little bit more. And we're going to make it kind of red too. The little drop shadow on that is a little bit interfering with there, but you can get the general idea. And then if I wanted to, I could duplicate that. I could spend a little bit more time doing it, and then I can move it to the other side. Oh, look what it does. Isn't that interesting? Because we stamped it. And the way that the stamping interacts is a little bit different. And maybe we'll adjust the Windows color a little bit here. Maybe we'll make them really dark. Yeah, something like that. And I think I'll create another effects layer and drop this down here as well. And again, I'm going to go with an adjust colors layer, except this time I'm going to go with brighter. And I think I'll even add in just a little bit of green and red to make it just a little bit yellow. And now I'm going to do some highlights. I think I'll make that a bit smaller. And we could do some along these edges here, and we can drop down that. We don't need it to be quite so. Can I even decrease this a little bit so it's not as intrusive? And we could do two separate layers where we wanted to have more precise and less precise kind of interactions. And then we can come in and do little ones on here as well. We'll drop this down to like 52. And something along these lines. And then we can do some nice little ones on here. Kind of mimic the shape over here a little bit. And this is where I can start to get lost doing this stuff. Don't want to do one there. But maybe here. And we could literally go in and do every little shadow and highlight. And so, as always, anyone who is unaware, all of these maps that we make on this stream, all of these images are going to be going up on the Forge. Once this new build comes out, I got a whole bunch ready to go. So you guys will be able to download those for free. As long as you have access to the art packs, either you've purchased them or have the art subscription, they'll load right up for you. I think I have about a little over 30 maps that are going up. We've done here on the stream. Then we can come in and this is just another way that we can add in that feeling that there is shape to this, there's depth to it. It actually goes up and down and in and out, and all of these pieces kind of stick up some. Do this again. I just accidentally did. So you can see if we hide these layers, how much we have added just by doing that. We've added so much depth to it. It really is starting to feel like a spaceship that's out there, right? All right, so now that we have all of our base spaceship done here, let's add in some other bells and whistles here. I'm going to add in another effects layer, and I'm going to drop this one down in underneath. And I'm going to create this one with like clouds. And I'm going to be dropping down the clouds here a lot and making this move very slow. Maybe it's something like 52. And I'm going to increase my shadow. And we can change our offset to find something that's going to fit good for us. And this is just going to give us a little bit of movement here in the background. You can see we have this nice subtle kind of gradient that is moving across the back, giving us a little bit more shape here. And I'm going to even drop this down a little bit more. I just want it to be very subtle here in the background. Give us a little bit of motion there. The other thing that we can do is we can add in another effects layer. And we can actually make this one it's snow or blizzard. Top. I think it's snow. Here we have like this snow falling. Let me just turn this up so you can kind of see here. And if we stop it, look, we can actually make it into this nice little barely moving elements in the background here. So we can drop down the size of it, and then we can drop down the intensity and the amount. And these all control different aspects of it. And I'm going to make the size quite large. I'm going to drop this down in underneath my clouds. And again, I'm just going to have this little bit of motion back here, and I'm going to drop this down to be very, very subtle. Yeah, I think that all that we need to do for that kind of stuff. Again, we can turn on our effects layers, our cloaking device. But in the meantime, we have this nice freighter ship that we've created. And done all kinds of cool stuff with. I think I will actually go in and let's do some textures on the top of it. One more thing that we'll do here. I think that this is our shadow layer. I'm not going to mess with that. I'll create a new one. Let's actually put shadow here. We can change these as well. This is our highlights. And I'm going to actually add in some little blinking lights and whatnot as well in the lighting system. We can set some up along the edges and whatnot that kind of blink in the background. I think we might be kind of cool to do. And then this one is our color adjust layer for and this is shadows. Texture, that's what we're doing next. I think I might actually use, well, let's see what we have here for, yeah, something like this. These snow textures. Well, let's go up and do, I'm actually going to go into the snow art package. I'll show you guys how you can use some of these. I go through, I believe it's called winter. Yeah. In our effects here, we have a whole bunch of different snow elements here. And I'm going to be making a new painting layer. Drop this down. Let's do it underneath our shadows and our adjustments here. And I'm going to grab something like this. As you can see here, this is white. And I can just stamp this right over the top, right, to create this. But the cool thing about this is, and I'm going to do this on the actual effects layer here, is I can adjust these. What? No, not there. I don't want to do it. I want to make sure I'm in this tab. I can adjust these colors, and we can bring this right down and make this into a kind of a grungy, dark element. And that it's going to just kind of look like this stuff. And I'm going to drop down my opacity as well. Maybe do something like this. So now that I've done it on the layers level of it, I can switch back over here, and as I change the size of this and do this around, it's going to match up to the layer, not what I've actually done here. And I can adjust this in addition to add in even further customizations, but I'm just going to add in some elements like this, like it's created. And I'm probably going to actually drop this down a little bit after the fact as well. And you can see that because I'm doing this underneath all of our shadows and highlights, it's going to go right through and work perfectly. And we can even do some rather large ones in through here, and then do some smaller ones on top. And now I can come back and I can adjust all of them together. And I'm going to make them a little bit more brown. I think what we'll do is I can actually come in and drop down the opacity of what I'm adding here. And this is going to add on, as you can see, it's going to make it even less opaque because I'm altering it here and in the layer style. Oh, we have a question from Svenster. Hey, Svenster. Are you going for a rust age look or blaster fire damage look? Oh yeah, you could do either one. You could do either one. I was just thinking about like adding a little bit more texture to it, but we could come up with any sort of narrative we wished. Oh yeah, space liking. Yeah, you should totally do that. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? That would be actually like a cool clue that you could give. Like maybe if this was an abandoned spacecraft, you could do some visual cues like that, which would be very fun. And you know what we should also do? We should set up I'll show you guys. Let's add in some of the actual lighting system as well. I'll turn on lights, line of sight, and we can see it as the players would see it. As you can see here, this is what the players would see without any of our lightings set up. We can go into our lighting system here, and you can see our cloaking is still working fine. But I'm going to create a new wall layer, and this is where I'm going to add all my lights to. And we're actually going to use, I'll show you guys some cool little tricks that we can do. The first thing that we'll do is we'll add a little bit of glow coming off of our little engines here. And we'll say that these are engines as well, but smaller ones. So we have 4 main areas. Maybe we'll do these. I think no. Let's say that these are like exhaust systems, and that these are our actual engines. So I'm going to create a new light. I'm going to do the glow to be, let's do it a little bit like green blue. Something like this. I'm going to make my bright to be quite small, and then make dim. Maybe we'll do like 4 or 5. I'm going to put 1 down and then adjust it and then make the rest the same. As you can see, I'm going to do something like this. And then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to adjust this until I get this right. So let's make that larger. Yeah, maybe something like this. And then maybe we'll do like that. Yeah, and then I'm going to set up some line of sight occluders to make this feel a little bit more natural. So it's not just like a round thing here. I'm going to do the fall off here to 50 to make it a little bit more subtle, and then I'm going to do 100